You're 60 years old and you and your spouse have saved up $1 million. How much are you going to be able to spend in retirement? This is the exact question that a couple came to us asking. So today we're going to go over their real life example and show you what they're on track to spend. We're also going to show you each strategy that we recommended and explain to you why we thought it would make sense for their situation. Hey everyone, I'm Marc Sabourin, co-founder of Trans Canada Wealth Management, and I'm here to help you tax efficiently plan for your retirement. Okay, so we have Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and obviously we've changed their names for privacy purposes, but they're both 60 years old and looking to retire at the end of this year. They would like to be able to spend $5,700 per month throughout their retirement on their day-to-day expenses, and they also wanted to be able to spend $1,500 per month on travel over the first 15 years of their retirement. So we took a look at their financial situation to see what things currently look like. Mr. Smith had an RSP valued at $450,000 and a TFSA valued at $100,000. Mrs. Smith had an RSP of $200,000 and a non-registered account at $150,000 with a TFSA at $100,000 as well. Their plan was to both start their CPP when they turned 61, and Mr. Smith was on track for just under $10,000 per year, while Mrs. Smith was going to receive just over $10,000 per year. They're both going to receive their maximum old age security starting at age 65 as well. Together, they jointly own their home valued at $650,000. Now that we know their financial picture and we know what they want to spend in retirement, we can actually see what they're on track to spend in retirement. Okay, so we have a lot going on this screen, so we're just going to work our way through it. So as mentioned, they want to be able to spend $5,700 per month on their day-to-day expenses in retirement and $1,500 per month on travel over the first 15 years of your retirement. When you combine both of those expenses, their average monthly need in retirement is just under $6,500 per month. Okay, so let's pause here for a second. You're probably thinking to yourself that $5,700 per month plus $1,500 per month doesn't equal $6,450. It equals $7,200 per month. And you're right. What the system is doing is averaging those expenses throughout retirement. So the $5,700 is for the life of the retirement, so let's call that 30 years, whereas the $1,500 a month for travel is only for the first 15 years of retirement. So when you average it out throughout the whole retirement, it's $6,450 per month. Now, based on the inputs that we put in, they're currently on track to be able to spend just over $5,900 per month in retirement. So their retirement is currently 89% funded, and if they don't change anything, there's a retirement shortfall of 6 years. So as we can see, they have $1 million today, and their retirement portfolio is going down over time as they're drawing on it. And we run into a shortfall position in 2047, 6 years prior to their life expectancy of age 90. Now, as far as how they planned on drawing out their retirement portfolio, their current advisor had advised them to keep their income tax bill as low as possible at the onset of their retirement. So we can see here their earned income, this is this year that they're still working, and the next year their CPP was going to start, and they would top up their income from their TFSA. So this would allow them to keep their tax bill as low as possible. Now, once their TFSA was all used up, they would start using their non-registered account, and it's at that time that they would also start their old age security. They would leave their registered accounts for as long as possible. And like I mentioned, they run into a shortfall position 6 years prior to their life expectancy, which in this case is age 90. So when we look at their net worth, today their house is their biggest financial asset, and it continues to be their biggest financial asset throughout their retirement as they're drawing down their retirement portfolio. And by the time they're age 90, their house is worth $1.6 million. But as we can see here, their legacy, this is would be left to their kids, is at $1.25 million. Again, because they have this shortfall position, they're having to draw equity from their home. So this is how things currently stood. So the first strategy that we looked at for Mr. and Mrs. Smith was what to do with their CPP. They planned on starting their CPP at age 61, but we know that the longer someone waits to take their CPP, the higher their payout is going to be. So you can actually push out your CPP all the way up until age 70. So we wanted to explore what would happen if they pushed out their CPP to age 70. So as we can see here, their investments go down a lot quicker at the onset of their retirement because they don't have any CPP income coming in. So they're forced to make larger withdrawals out of their portfolio to sustain their expenses. However, once their CPP does start at age 70, they're having to draw less out of their portfolio because their CPP income is now kicking in. And we can see the impact of this is that their money actually ends up lasting longer in the long run because their CPP payments are higher and they're having to draw less from their portfolio over their retirement. So this actually increases their retirement success rate from 89% up to 96%. And it also increases the amount that would be left to their kids by $224,000. However, the downside of pushing out your CPP to age 70 is if something happens to you or your spouse. There is a CPP survivor benefit, and in some cases, you can earn up to 60% of the deceased spouse CPP, but in other cases, you might earn 0% of their previous CPP. So you have to be very careful there when choosing when to start your CPP. So for Mr. and Mrs. Smith, pushing it out to 70 was a little bit too long, so we decided to end up pushing it out to age 67. So this still improved their outlook, but again, not as much as pushing out to age 70, but not every decision is black and white. There's always going to be some gray involved. Now, the next decision that we looked at was what to do with their old age security. So old age security starts at 65, and same idea, you could push it out to age 70. And if we did that, again, their retirement outlook would improve a little bit, but similar idea, there is no survivor benefit for old age security. So they decided to start their old age security at 65. As for their retirement withdrawal strategy, again, they want to start withdrawing from their TFSA first, then their non-registered account, and then their RSP. This is what their advisor is recommending to them. But is that the best way to do it? Is that going to be able to save them the most taxes throughout their retirement? Well, it turns out there's a better way of doing it. So they could actually start with their registered investments first when they begin their retirement at age 61. Again, their old age security would start at 65. And their CPP would start at age 67. Now, once their registered accounts are used up, at that point, they would move to the non-registered account. And once the non-registered accounts are used up, they would then use their TFSAs. So the impact of this is that it helps improve their retirement outlook and also increase the value of their estate if they were to pass away. Another strategy that we looked at was having the right types of investments in the right accounts. So based on our withdrawal strategy, we're using the TFSA accounts for last in their retirement. So since we're using the TFSA accounts last in retirement, they should be invested a little bit more aggressively compared to the rest of their portfolio. And since we're using their RRSP accounts first to draw on in retirement, those accounts should be a little bit more conservative because we're going to need that money relatively soon. So by implementing this strategy, it brings up our retirement outlook goal up to 100%, and it also increases their estate value by $130,000. So it's very important to have the right types of accounts and having the right types of investments within those accounts. So by implementing these three strategies, their retirement outlook has increased to 100%. And we actually have a half-year cushion built into their plan. Their estate value has also increased by $370,000. So that's a lot of extra money that can go to their kids. However, did Mr. and Mrs. Smith need to leave such a large estate for their kids? Well, it turns out that their kids were doing okay financially, so Mr. and Mrs. Smith wanted to see what would it look like if they spend more of their retirement savings. So we looked at increasing their retirement expenses by 10% in retirement, so increasing the $5,700 per month by $570. As we can see, this causes them to run into a shortfall situation much early in retirement, but if they were to sell their home at that point, and start renting for, let's say, $4,000 per month, they would have enough money to carry them through their retirement up until age 90. At that point, they would have a net estate of just under $98,000. So this is just another way for them to look at it. Again, if they didn't want to leave such a large estate, it would allow them to spend more money on themselves during retirement. So how much can you spend if you have $1 million portfolio in retirement? Well, obviously, there's a lot of variables that come into play. So today was just to give you an idea of some of the possibilities. Once again, I'm Marc Sabourin from TransCanada Wealth Management. If you want to learn how we help our clients tax efficiently plan for their retirement, check us out at transcanadawealthmanagement.com.